about what the manifesto offers when it comes to infrastructure. Good morning to you, sir.
Yeah, good morning. It's a pleasure being here. Yeah.
Nice to see you finally.
Yeah, that's right. The last time I came here, I think it's about getting to almost a decade, if not more.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
So it's nice to see you. I'm wondering, what have you been up to since leaving office?
Oh, since I'm a lawyer, so
okay.
I've been doing a little bit of law.
Okay.
Not into the deep side, but
okay.
Responding to issues that affect friends and families.
Okay.
And others that affect the party, wherever.
Okay.
I'm at the level at Tama, basically. And and just taking it easy. And of course, trying to get myself involved in see how we can shape the future of our country through NDC. Yeah.
And having said that, of course, like I was saying, biggest expansion project ever done, you had the duty of handling that as CEO of the Gpha.
That's right, yes.
I'm wondering, from that time when we were at the Gpha, being in office at the time, till now, when you look at the country, what do you think?
I think it's very, very regrettable that for each stage that we pass, we take 2 steps forward and then take 4 steps backwards.
Okay.
Yeah. Before we lost power in 2003, 2002, I think. The last time Rawlings was in power. Rawlings was in charge.
That was 2001. You left power in 2001. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. We had prepared the country reasonably well to go to the next step.
Okay.
Yeah, and then President Gpha came in. If I talk specifically in the area that I was then in Gpha as a project engineer at that time, we had accumulated over $100 million in our account, even at that time, preparing for the port expansion and all that. Okay. Unfortunately, by the time we came back, 8 years after, Gpha was in trouble.
Okay.
Yes. The finances were so down. The vehicles were, even Toyota seized the vehicles because they couldn't pay them.
Okay.
And a whole lot of funny things happened. I mean, there were no operating equipment and all that, you know. And so 2008, 9, 10, 11, for the 8 years that we're in government, we put Gpha and the country back. You know, do a whole lot of development all over the place, roads, hospitals, you know, the major expansion was like the Terminal 3, both at the airport and at the seaside, you know, where we started, you know. We took on the expansion of Takrady Port and all those areas. A number of the E-blocks and other things that we did, the hospitals, chief compounds. So we're moving the country forward, you know. Then, unfortunately, I mean, I think Ghanaians had gotten used to that standard of life and thought they were expecting more. And we handed over, regrettably, 8 years now. It's sad to say that walking around is like the country we have come out of civil war.
Feels like we just came out of
civil war. That's correct, as far as I'm concerned. It looks like we've been in civil war for all these 8 years, and everything has been destroyed, and that is too sad. I mean, there's not a single place that you can go and be proud of. You know, the road infrastructure is dead. Water systems are bad. Power systems are bad. Hospitals are. I mean, some of the institutions that you go into, the hospitals. I mean, it's unbelievable. The church. I mean, the judicial service, the courts, you go into the courtrooms, they are terrible. So there's nothing that is telling you that, hey, where are we going? Where, how did we arrive at this particular place? And if I go back to my former place in Gpha, it's very sad, you know, that even the equipment that we had, you know, mobilized for them in all this period, they couldn't maintain them. They couldn't maintain them. And I can say for certain that they just gathered all of them and scrapped them and sold them as scrap. The question, you got to, especially in technocracy, So the question you ask yourself is, what has happened? Who is buying all this crap? Who's buying all this crap? When the port was booming, with a lot of traffic, so as a result, we anticipated a lot of traffic, so we have put up certain facilities, had to take on the additional traffic. Now the place is dry. The dry. By 6, 7, there's no traffic on the road. So it's very, very regrettable.
That must be saddening for you, because I recall the message at the time.
Yes.
The reason we're expanding the port because we are seeing a lot more activity at the port, and we are expanding the port to accommodate more
traffic into the system.
But now
it's terrible. It's terrible.
It's even worse than it was.
It's worse. It's worse. It's worse. It's so regrettable that, for example, as part of the port expansion, we had taken on the motorway, which was part of the port expansion. Okay. Signed, sealed, and all that was required to be done was just to continue. Now, it didn't need to do anything. Now, this was completely stopped. Okay. This was stopped, cancelled. And now, 8 years back, we are signing a contract to spend over $400 million for the same job. And a PPP or something with a Gpha. Gpha is a state organization, Gpha, the infrastructure, which we created, it's a state organization. It's not a bank, and it was not created for that purpose. So how can we say that it's Gpha that is for a project and they are going to fund it and all sorts of, it just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. And we're spending money. It's just like going back and asking ourselves, suppose that we had decided to spend money on the MPS, which is sitting down there. We spent over $1 billion on MPS. There's nothing, if you go to Bank of Ghana or Ministry of Finance, there's nothing in the account book that shows that the government spent that money there. No.
What happens?
So why did we have to put ourselves in this situation? And a whole lot of other similar things. Yes.
What happens to this infrastructure? Because right now, there was an expectation based on which, if this infrastructure is not used to its maximum level, where you expect to generate the revenue to, so that you can fulfill your responsibility under the contract we have with MPS. Exactly, what happens?
Well, what happens is that it means, one, in the first way, the corporate organization begins to fall. Because it's when you generate revenue out of your performance that, you continue to grow. But if the assets that are with you, you cannot utilize them. If I narrow myself down to the to Gpha, you are a port not because you have got several human beings sitting down there. You got about 2,000 or 5,000, 10 people. No, you are not. You are a port not because you have some enclave of water with somebody sitting there as director of port. No, you are a port because when a vessel arrives, you can receive the vessel efficiently, discharge your cargo at a shorter period of time, so the vessel can turn around quickly, that the cargo is delivered and stored and delivered to the shipper at a reliable and efficient way in the least cost. That is what it is involved. So if all of this cannot be done, then what it means is that, one, the company begins to sink. And so when we hear some companies drying up, then the first thing that begin to hear is that they cannot pay salaries. Yes. Now, by the time you reach salaries cannot be paid, by that time, equipment cannot be maintained. Your vehicles, even your operational vehicles cannot be maintained. Then you begin to decline. Your customers begin to walk away. And that sort of thing. Our ports are not in isolation. We're in competition with neighboring ports. Okay. Yes, and the goods that come into the country is not just by government. It's private. A lot of, over 80% of it is by private people. So if the private people find that they cannot have their goods passing through the port efficiently and effectively, they've got to find other means. So they could go to Togo or Abidjan port. So you are sitting now with your water, with your about 5,000, 10,000 employees, calling yourself a port authority, but in effect, you are nothing. You are nothing.
And that is what you think we've been reduced to?
That's what we have been reduced to.
So you have a port authority with the employees, the facility
so
ready.
many employees, yeah. So it is what we did, that is the MPS, that is seriously, effectively working. And all because of the standard that we had envisaged, which they have implemented. They've now captured most of the trade in the what we call the transshipment trade. So a lot of it is coming up. But if we look at the other side of it, the original port, where a lot of cargo is supposed to come in, because people are not, you go to the port and the custom duties are so high that if you import anything or you even go to export, and the list of things that you have to, the taxes, is about 2024, it's unbelievable. Where E levy, COVID levy, so many levy, and the calculation of it is said that you are, paying tax over government tax, and that sort of thing. It is a disincentive to anybody who's going to come into the country. So with all of these, it just doesn't entice anybody to do business, yes. And that's what we have been reduced to. So you see the port now, you got empty space sitting down there, and you think that you are doing business, you're not doing any business, you're telling lies, you're not doing any business. Unfortunately, that's where we have gotten ourselves to. And of course, you can expand it to all the other areas. When you visit the hospitals, you can see the state of affairs. The last time I was at Kolobu Hospital, where I went for treatment myself, I was so sad. I think I was at the surgical block, the top floor. Everything there looked rotten, the laboratories and everything was bad. It's unbelievable. Everything is cracking up. And that is too unfortunate for our country. Yes, that we can reduce ourselves to that level.
I'm asking you these questions because if you look at your manifesto, in front of it is resetting Ghana.
Yes.
Now, the basic question that has been asked is that resets have to have a particular period in mind.
Yes.
So you have to reset to a period where things were in a particular way, where you feel that you can then lift off from there. When you say resetting Ghana, which period are you looking at resetting back to?
No, we're not resetting back. We're resetting it to the way it was at the time that we left and taking it off from there.
Okay.
Yes. We're not, we're not going to reset it back to the days of Kwame Nkrumah. We're not going to reset it back to the days of JJ or even to Atta Mills. No. In the very minimum, we'll reset it back to the basic things that people must have.
Okay.
Yes. That you must be able to have basic access to your house by road. You must have water. You must have electricity. You should feel secured. So at least the energy, the digital technology, and the transportation systems should be the basic, should be there. Then we have to take it off from there and continue into the future. Because without that, we are not doing anything. No. Unfortunately, that goes also with what? Employment. Because our population is not standing still. Our population is on the move. So there's high unemployment. People are going to school. They are finishing school. People are. We launched our manifesto in Winneba, and I was talking to a lady who told me how she completed school with a degree in accounting, and for 5-6 years she was doing nothing.
Degree in accounting.
In accounting, she was doing nothing. So she decided to spend more time to go and do the masters. She did all that masters finished, and there's still no job. And so you can imagine there are several of these going on.
Very qualified people.
Very qualified people, yes. So we have this whole mass of people, young, strong youth coming up. Where is the future? If the basic things are not there. So when you are unemployed, you don't have anywhere to go. You go home, there's no water for you today. Water is not reliable. Recently you had some water problems in some parts of Accra and that sort of thing. Electricity is not reliable. Security is a major issue. So when you put all those things together, then you realize that, hey, so our resetting is to reset, to normalize it and take it off from there and move it into the next feature, because we must get to the next feature. And that is not something that is beyond our reach. We are determined, led by our able and dynamic John Dramani Mahama, our flag bearer, and to be committed to that cause. That the vision which we have started, from Atamils to him, which we were moving, in the very minimum, we've got to get back to that stage, restate ourselves, and take it up from there. Yes.
Great. If you just join us, we're having a conversation with Mr. Richard Anamoo, who is NDC Manifesto spokesperson on infrastructure. Interestingly, was the man who was at the Gpha when they were doing the expansion. And very interesting discussions I've had on that expansion ever since. Most of my listeners will recall the conversations I had with Honorable Inusa Husseini and also Mr. Setekbe. Two people who will tell you an interesting story about that expansion. How an expansion of a port moved from the port. Now they started thinking about, so if we expand the port and there's more cargo, where would the cargo pass? And then they started thinking about the interchange, the thermal interchange, then things about the motorway. And Honorable Setekbe says it goes all the way there. And under that, they were looking at Pokwasi interchange, how to clear the route so that... that's an interesting vision. That was how big it was. So all of this for you at the time was linked. So you were not doing infrastructure only at the port. You realized that the infrastructure must also support a bigger vision.
Yes. I mean, we were looking beyond just the enclave of Tema.
Okay.
Yes. We were looking at something far, far bigger than that, because the traffic must come and go into the hinterland. Okay, so we're looking beyond. I traveled to Burkina Faso. I traveled to Niger. I traveled to Mali. To be able to capture all that trade into the port. Because these are traditional people who are linked up because our colonial powers. They were linked up to the French economy. So you had Togo to our right, and then Abidjan to our left. So these traffic traditionally passable. Ghana is much closer and faster, in terms of distance, So we needed to go into all these areas to bring them. And of course, we needed to go into our own country and see how we could establish terminals. A lot of the traffic is going into Kumasi, Central Ashanti region, and then of course to the north. So along that route, we needed to establish terminals that the traffic can also land there. So then of course, look at the issue of these articulated travel drivers. As they drive along the road, they need to relax somewhere, park properly, security-wise and all that. So all of these, it was part of the schemes, of course, in tandem with the plans of the Ghana Highway Authority. And of course, and with the ECG, or the power energy people. So whilst we might be looking at it just from the Port Authority, the effects was higher than just the Port Authority. Yes, and that's the way we were looking at. So of course, I mean, if you have several articulated tracks line up, it's necessary for you to make sure that your roads are strong. It's necessary for you to make sure that your bridges are good. Yes, and everything. So that is why we're prepared to do the motorway in addition. Yes, we were prepared to do that.
And many years down the lane, the motorway is still...
The motorway is
not done.
So we signed it. We signed it in 2015. Signed, sealed. And today we are still sitting here talking about it.
And it looks like it's something that...
it's painful.
When John Mahama is given the opportunity, he will inherit.
Yes.
The construction of the motorway. But then now let's go into the manifesto itself.
Exactly, yes.
Because